Hello everyone, you are welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's consider this question also under calculus, which is differential calculus. We are given that we are asked, they said find the derivative of y equal to 3x squared using the first principle, not direct method, using the first principle. Very simple. How can we undo that? We are given that y equal to 3x squared, right? Yeah. Now, using the first principle, we'll be using delta, that is change in x and change in y. So, it will now be y plus change in y equal 3 into brackets x plus change in x all square. Don't forget you are using first principle. Let me write it. Using first principle. Using first principle. Using first principle. So now, because for every change in y, there must be change in x. That's why. For every change in y, there must be change in x. So I will now add the changes. So it will now be y plus change in y equal to 3. And this x plus change in x all square means I will expand. Then will be x plus change in x multiplying x plus change in x. So it will now be y plus what? Change in y equal to 3 into bracket. I will expand. X times x will give me x square. X times change in x will give me x change in x. Change in x multiplied by x will give me also plus x change in x. And change in x multiplying change in x will give me plus change in x all square. Then this will now be what? Y plus change in y equal to 3 into bracket x square. Now, x change in x plus x change in x will give me 2x change in x plus change in x or what? All square. They are close brackets. These three will now open the brackets. So I'll now say what? Y to now be what? Y plus what? Change in y equal to what? Equal to 3 times x square will give me 3x square. 3 times 2x change in x will give me plus 6x change in x. 3 times this will give me plus 3 change in x all square. Then from here now, this y will cross to the other side. So change in y will now be equal to what? 3x square plus what? 6x change in x plus 3 change in x all what? All square minus y. If the y cross the sign of equality becomes minus. So change in y will now be equal to what? 3x square 3x square plus what? Plus 6x change in x plus 3 change in x all square minus y. Now, what is y? From the question, y is what? From the given question, my y is what? 3x square. I will now substitute y as 3x square into this. Now be minus what? 3x square. So change in y will now be equal to what? 3x square plus what? 6x change in x plus 3 change in x all square minus 3x square. Now from here now if I observe, this can knock out this because 3x square will minus 3x square. What remain now is change in y equal to what? 6x change in x plus 3 change in x all what? All square. What am I looking for? I'm looking for what? Dy dx. So and dy dx is change in y over what? Change in x, because derivative means dy dx. Now from here now, what the next thing to do is to divide through by change in x. So change in y over what? Change in x will now be equal to 6x change in x over change in x plus 3 change in x all square over what? Change in x. So from there now, change in y over what? Change in x will now be this will cancel this. What remain? 6x plus this will cancel one of these. It will now remain 3 change in x. Now using limiting, I will now limit as change in x tends to 0 of change in y over change in x. So wherever I see change in x, I will put 0 because delta s, which is change in x, tends to what? 0. So now be 6x plus 3 bracket what? 0. So in conclusion, once there is limit, it becomes dy dx. Then dy dx will now be equal to what? 6x plus 0. In conclusion, dy over what? Over dx is equal to 6x. As simple as that. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe on my YouTube channel, comment and share. Thank you very much for watching my video. I remain my humble self, Mr. Calculator.